Hello, I'm Andrew Dyer, and welcome to our special March Madness preview show of the Roundball Report, the only show in the area dedicated to highlighting the excerpts of the high school, college, and professional basketball teams which play in the Washington metropolitan area. And here with me again is my co-host, the one and only Coach Nikki Lewis of Capital Christian High School. Nikki, your season is over.
Yes.
Got through a rough first one, but I'm sure you're laying the foundation blocks for a much brighter future.
Yes, we're moving into summer ball, and I mean, it wasn't a bad season. We're building, and when you're building, you run into the little bumps in the road, and you just keep going. So that's what we're doing.
Just like the Maryland Terps did the first 4 years under Mark Turgeon's regime, and they built up to an NCAA tournament team. They got a number 4 seed, a little bit disappointed about that, but it's spilled milk now, and it's time to talk about the brackets and see that this is truly
March Madness.
March Madness.
Yes.
And here with us to weigh in with their thoughts, put their predictions on record, and we can have it documented, are the one and only tag team from HSRN, Lexter Taylor and Coach Jimmy Fly Hellman. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Pleasure to be here.
We're glad to be here.
Now, March Madness, the brackets came out, and all throughout the previews, they were talking about Maryland's definitely a 3 seed playing for a 2. They beat Indiana in the first round of the Big Ten. They were up by 16 in the first half against Michigan State before they got, as a coach, you know, got baited into playing a slowdown game against Michigan State. Came up a little bit short for the first time all season. They lost the game by less than 6 points. But everyone's still expecting them to be a 3 seed. And Lexter, if you saw the shot from Coach Turgeon's house when they saw Maryland getting out the 4 seed, you couldn't have seen a team more underwhelmed or shocked at their seeding. But it's all said and done. They just got to go out there and try to prove them wrong through their play.
I think it shocked a lot of people. You know, a week ago we thought Maryland would possibly, you know, move into that 2 spot, and you know, disappointing finish to the Michigan State game. Now they see themselves in the 4th spot, and then to top it off, they got the big cherry that's in their bracket.
And we can
Kentucky.
put the bracket. Let's put that Maryland bracket up.
Put them in there with Kentucky.
As you see, at the top of the bracket is the formidable giant Kentucky, undefeated, 34-0. And because of the seeding, if Maryland makes it through, if the seeds hold, Coach Fly, Maryland would play Kentucky in the round of the Sweet 16. But how do you see that bracket? I know you've done your research. Yeah. Do you see Maryland making it past Valpo? Because they're a dangerous team.
Well, Valpo, I think they should be able to handle. Valpo has
West
some.
Virginia too.
They have some injury issues in the backcourt. They're a team that only scores around 69, points a game. I think they can handle them. I'm not sure about all this 2, 3, 4 seed. I don't know the relevancy of all that, because the bigger issue is you got stuck in the Eastern Regional with Kentucky. You'd rather be a 5th or 6th seed in another region, because if Maryland can get to the Sweet 16, I think it's a win for them. But that's as far as they're going to go, because if they face Kentucky, the way Michigan manhandled them in the second half, it's the first time I saw a full game. And when Des Wells went out of the game, the offense shut down. And the other issue that I have that I think they need to correct, when Michigan State, they doubled off a smart trick and Layman, and they're able to recover to those 2 because they can't beat people off the dribble. And Layman has to be the 3rd scorer. He has to score 15, 16 a game. He's got to knock down that corner 3, and then he's just not aggressive enough. The physicality of Michigan State just dominated them late, and they won.
And Lexter, he's a kid that's really the most talented kid on the team. He's 6'9", 6'10". He's very athletic, can shoot, can handle, but just doesn't have that fire, that mentality to be a consistent scorer. Because some nights he's there, sometimes you don't even know he's out on the court. Yeah,
but you know how March Madness is. I mean, this next 2 weeks, you kind of get to highlight your abilities, and the spotlight's going to be on him. They're going to need him if they're going to get to the Kentuckys of the world. They're going to need him to be an all-star, basically. But I don't see them beating Kentucky. Notre Dame's in there also. I think that's the only threat to Kentucky, in my opinion.
Right.
I'd have to disagree with that opinion.
Go ahead.
Of course.
No, Wichita State is in the bottom half of that bracket.
You can put that back up.
And if you remember, 2 years ago, Wichita State several of their players were in the Final Four and just a step away from getting in the title game.
And they were 34-0 this time last year.
Well, they had a veteran ball club with a very good coach and a defensive minded. The way you're going to have to beat Kentucky is you got to play defense without fouling them, and then you got to have enough depth on the front line to match the 7-footers are going to throw at you.
So when I come back here in a couple weeks, and he's talking about Wichita State, that's going to have trouble against Indiana. Let's mind you, they're going to have trouble with Indiana.
Indiana's a run and gun team. They're not Bobby Knight's Indiana team.
Exactly, and then they got to get past Bill Self's Kansas team.
They're an Indiana team
do you think
that
Kansas
doesn't play defense, and Kansas has been in choke mode for several years now.
You hear this? But see, you don't understand. This is like a backyard rival.
Now, what about
Kansas
Purdue?
refuses to play Wichita State, so that's why Wichita State, if they get them, they're going to be
You
out
really
for
think
blood.
they were going to beat Kansas?
Yes, they just got spanked in the Big 12 tournament, up double digits, and Iowa State took them out.
So who do you see coming out of that region? Kentucky?
You asking me? Hey, look, I'm going to go with an upset.
Okay.
I really don't believe these freshmen. I mean, Harrison did a great job last year, and they had a great run last year. But they had Julius Randle last year to help them, and he dominated in the paint. They don't have him. They have two big guys this year who are pretty good. I just can't. I'm not going for that 33-0 stuff. They're going to lose.
To who?
I'm going to go. This is my upset. I'm going with Harvey's kid, Notre Dame. I'm going with Harvey Grant's kid to knock them off. That's why I'm going to just jump out there.
They just beat Duke in North Carolina in back-to-back nights. Who you got coming out of there, Coach Fly?
Kentucky. Wichita State, I think, like I just said, is the only team that will match up and beat them because they can play defense and they got that tough mindedness. But Kentucky is not freshmen. If you look at the top 3-4 scorers, they're all upperclassmen, sophomores, granted, but guys that have played. So the people that are carrying a load, the freshmen just had to come along with them. So it's a different Kentucky team.
Let's bring up the Southeast.
Wait a minute.
Let's bring up the Southeast.
Sophomore is not an upperclassman.
When you're a one-and-done player and you skip going to the pros, and today's
let's bring up the Southeast. All right, the South region. We got Duke, who got a #1 seed despite being knocked out on the semifinals of the ACC tournament, and Georgetown got a #4 seed for a strength of schedule, even though they got knocked out in the semifinals of the Big Ten. And here's if Maryland has any gripe, Iowa State got a 3 seed, and Maryland beat Iowa State on a neutral floor early in the season, and they have comparable records, but Iowa State did win the Big 12 championship.
So would you rather have Maryland in that bracket with those teams, replacing Georgetown with Gonzaga, and then they got to play Eastern Washington in Portland? That's going to be it. Georgetown might be home before we eat our pizza.
Well, sadly, I had to admit, I have more confidence in Maryland's ability to play to their strength as opposed to Georgetown because of the fact that JT3, even though he's gotten away from the Princeton offense, he's still allowing, when you have the dominant athletes, and I'm sure, Coach Fly, you would agree with this, you exert your athletic dominance. You don't allow a close game. You don't play a walk-up game against a team that you're superior than. That opens it up to foul trouble. The referees teams having a great shooting night. The old Georgetown teams just come out and dominate full court pressure with the athletes and dominate the lesser opponents. Georgetown is the type of team that can beat anybody and they can be beaten by anyone, as they've proven.
They're going to have a problem with Eastern Washington. He said it. They're playing in Portland, Oregon, right in their backyard. They got to go cross country. Eastern Washington averages 81 points a game. Harvey's averaging 24 himself. He can go off for 30 by himself. They got another power forward, Venke, averaging 17. But it's going to be a pace of game situation. If Georgetown tries to run with them, Georgetown doesn't score in the 80s and up. This team
they can.
They can, but I don't think they want to run with these guys. I think they need to slow it down, pound it inside to Josh Smith, and keep this. Well, I'll tell you why.
We got
the 8 losses, they've been under 69
Who you got coming
points.
out of that region?
I know I don't have Duke. Who's in that region? I have Iowa State.
You got Iowa State. I'm not a believer in Iowa State. Who you got?
I have Iowa as well.
You got Iowa State?
I have Iowa.
I'm going with Gonzaga and Georgetown in the Elite 8. How about that?
Okay.
Georgetown knocking on Duke.
Let's pull up
Gonzaga.
Let's pull up the next region.
Gonzaga.
All right.
Gonzaga.
East, we got Villanova, got the 1 seed. You got Virginia. So who do you like between those two?
Between Villanova
and Virginia?
and Virginia.
I like Virginia coming out of that bracket.
Because
they got the defense and they got their scorer who'll be healthy as the tournament progresses.
they got a couple of death traps in there with Michigan State. You know, Tom Izzo, his team's always tournament tested, and they're
Michigan
always
State
good.
might struggle with
always
with Georgia though, because Georgia gave Kentucky a run a couple weeks ago.
See, the thing is about the SEC, I don't respect any team in the SEC, and that's the reason why I'm not
You're not
really.
that big
I'm
a
not.
believer in
I'm not
Kentucky.
a believer in Kentucky
Who you
because
got
their
coming out of
teams
this
are
region,
bad.
Fly?
I like Virginia and a dark horse, NC State, LSU. Those two teams are scary
NC
opponents.
State.
Northern Iowa and Villanova gonna battle it out. I'm gonna go with the chalk on this one and go with Villanova. How about
Lastly,
that?
out west.
The West.
The West.
It's about Wisconsin. I'm all for Wisconsin.
You over Wisconsin?
I'm all.
I think this
I'm
is the
fine
toughest
I
bracket.
like
That is
Arizona. I like
by
Arizona.
far.
I
This
like
is the toughest
Arizona in
bracket.
the Elite Eight.
So who's your Final Four,
I'm
Jimmy, and who's going to
Arizona.
cut down the nets
I'm taking Wisconsin, Frank the Tank,
to win it all?
to win it all. I think they're going to rematch against Kentucky. Remember, last year they played Kentucky. They were one basket away. Travion Jackson may be back for the tournament. They are a team
Got
that can
30
play
seconds,
defense
Lexter.
without
Who you
fouling.
got?
I'm disappointed because you let him pick before me, but I was actually going to pick Wisconsin only because I think there is style. If Kentucky does get to the Final Four, I think Wisconsin has the style that's going to kind of slow that pace
Only
up, slow
because
the
he
tempo
read my
up.
notes in the green room.
So we actually
We ain't gonna agree on
this
that.
Is this is
It is
history. We got you
historic.
guys agreeing on something. You both picked Wisconsin to tear
Now
down the nets.
my bracket's going to be busted.
No, but
now.
I don't agree that Wisconsin is
We'll
gonna beat
try
Kentucky,
we'll
though.
try to get some more discussion of it later
He
in the
just
show.
waited.